Welcome back to The Rustic Wife. My name's Alana. Today I thought I would give you a garden tour. I know it's kind of a late garden tour. I started to do one maybe about a month ago. We had some problems with our garden. I did videotape that, some of the issues we've had, but we were dealing with those. And I thought I would give you a garden tour now. Everything looks nice and full and beautiful. And I will follow up with some videos of the problems that we had with some of our things. So stay tuned for those videos. But today I thought I would do a bit of a property and garden tour. So I thought I would start with the vegetable garden first. So here is our vegetable garden. It is 125 feet long by roughly 35 feet wide. And this year is the first year we put in some drip irrigation. I have a video for that and I'll leave it above so you can check that out too. But this is the year that we haven't really needed the irrigation. At first we did, it was quite dry, but it's been a really rainy summer so far. And the rain has caused some problems with the garden, as I'm sure a lot of people are experiencing the same thing too. But anyway, we have onions here. We've planted 4 rows of sweet onions and we have 2 rows of candy and 2 rows of Walla Walla. And you can see they're doing well. We did have a tornado go through here, missed us by about 1/4 mile, but the winds were quite strong. We had some hail. We also had some heavy rain, which knocked the tops over, and they were doing very well before that. But you can see here, I think this is called leaf fleck. Just see it right there. You can see the damage. At first I thought it was something called botrytis leaf blight, which is not a good thing for onions to get. But then I looked it up and I believe this is just a leaf fleck, which is also a botrytis thing as well, I think. But it's only on the one side, and I believe it was from the hard rain we had from that tornado that went through. But we're lucky our onions look like this compared to some of the damage people had. We also have a row of leeks. The variety is called Lancelot, and we have really good luck with this variety. When we harvested them, they just turned out perfect last year. So hopefully they turn out like that again. Also, we have a row of celery, and that's called Tango. And again, we harvested that when it was snowing last year too. It got really, really sweet and just lovely. 2 rows of beets here. The one row is a red beet and it's called Merlin. And the other row is called Chiaga. It's I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's a heritage beet and it's more of a red, and on the inside of it's lighter with red rings in the middle of it. Honestly, I don't think I would plant those again next year. I wasn't happy with the flavor compared to the ones that I usually grow. We have some carrots, and we have bolero carrots and some sugar snacks. 2 rows there and a 3rd growing here. We had problems with the carrots earlier, and I'm going to do a video on that. And the tops were eaten by earwigs. So that's, like I said, it's a whole other video. We also have 2 rows of beans here. We did have problems with beans as well. These are green beans and the variety is Valentino, and they are our absolute favorite. We had to replant these. We did have them in another area of the garden, but the beans got a mosaic virus early on, so I had to pull them all out. Next we have our peas. I have to pick those. And we have 2 varieties. This one here is just a premium shelling pea, and the variety from here over is called D.I.Y, and I really love that one. It's got great pods, and I'll show you when I get around the other side because you can see them better. And then we have our tomatoes, and we had problems with the tomatoes as well. We had a very late snow. I believe it was about the end of May 28th, I think. We had a snow, and we had already had about, I think we have 60 plants here. We had 60 plants and they all got nailed by the snow and we had to replant. Luckily we had extra seedlings, otherwise we would have had to go purchase them. I was going to sell some seedlings, but I'm glad we didn't. So here are the peas. You can see just really nice long pod. They have really nice uniform peas in them too. Next we have a couple of tomatillo plants here. First year I've ever grown them. And then we also have rows of peppers. They're not doing that well this year compared to last year. Maybe too much rain, not enough heat. Last year it was quite hot and we had really good luck with peppers. But I also had to pull a few peppers out because they got the mosaic virus as well that the beans had. That was kind of crappy luck, but we could still save them, which is nice. Save some of them anyway. Next we have our cucumbers. I have mostly planted picklers because I like to use the small picklers for all of my pickles. And there are a few plants there of the English variety. And next we have our lettuce. We just did some mixed greens here. And our cabbages, a mixture of red and green. And this is the second planting that we've had to do of cabbages because early on they were absolutely annihilated by flea beetles. So we started some in the house later again, and they're not very big, so we don't know if they're gonna get to full maturity, but we'll see. This is where the beans were, the 2 rows of green beans that we had to pull out. So we put an extra row of potatoes there, and then these are all our potatoes. 4 rows of Kennebec potatoes. Next we have 4 rows of sweet corn, and this variety is called Luscious. We grew that last year and it was fabulous. And then we also have our gladiolus. They were kind of affected by the heavy winds. You can see some of the ones that have flopped over there. Not too bad. My chives there, I'd cut those back and they're kind of getting a little bit wild again. My husband has a row of tobacco he grows here. He doesn't smoke it anymore, but he just likes to grow it. And then another row of sweet onions and a couple of leeks there that we had some seedlings left over. And then here we have our squash. And there are some little squashes forming, but I can't see them. But over here we have some pie pumpkins. And I believe these pie pumpkins are called Cinnamon Girl. And what else? I think there's another variety in there. You can just see one right there. The butternut squash is butterscotch, and the pepper squash is called Tuffy. I believe those are the varieties that we have. I forgot to show you, beside the peppers, I've got some basil right here just before the tomatillas start. And I'm going to have to cut that back. It's starting to get a little wild too. This was my great-grandma's, I believe, and we use this to scuffle in between the rows of our vegetables. It works really well. This thing's over 100 years old, still plugging along. So I'll show you behind the garden, the back of the property here. We keep our chickens and our pig pens back here, and we've got more gardens. So I'll turn you around and show you that. Down the back, just behind the garden where our hen house is, we had to put up this fence. I'm not a big fan of the fence, but we had to because we had a problem with the fox coming in and taking the chickens, and one of our ducks got killed too. So I'm just going to show you inside the hen house. We've made this little Looney Tune trap door for them to get in and out. And here it is. The girls are all out, but we have to keep the water up there because Jemima, our duck, sleeps in here too, and she made an awful mess. So we just put a little basin of water for her on the ground, and the chickens can drink their water up there. Let's see, we've got to collect some eggs this morning still. And then we have our pheasant pen here, and we just keep moving it. You can see we've just moved it so they have fresh grass. I guess they're about 5 weeks old now. And so I'm just in the pen with them, and we put some wood in here for them to climb on and some tree branches, and there's some juniper branches for them to hide in. They like to hide out in here. And the dogs like to run around the pen and antagonize them. But we usually release them. We just like to see them grow up, and we like to have them come back. And we've had a few of them come back for the last couple of years, which is nice. So hopefully we see more of them come back. But they're absolutely beautiful. When they're older, The males have like such gorgeous feathers on them. And this is Violet. She's our little broody hen. You can see the back there. Her little chick, we named it Spanky. And he's been burning around everywhere. But she's got about 8 eggs underneath her. And before I moved her out to this little enclosure, I think some other hens were laying their eggs, so we'll see. Oh, there he is. Isn't he cute? That's Violet and Spanky. Every time I open this lid, Otis wants to watch the baby. This is our old pig pen. Obviously we don't have any pigs this year. I have loaded it up, you can see, with sunflowers. There's tomatoes in there, volunteer tomato plants, but I also have zinnias crowding along here. I've also got nasturtiums here, tons and tons of sunflowers, and there's calendula, and there's zinnias back there. It's just a big, massive flower enclosure here. But yeah, I just don't like the look of the compost piles, so I thought I'd just kind of fill them up with flowers around, and you won't be able to see it, but you can see some calendula here has started to bloom. The sweet peas are pretty much done. I only got basically a bouquet out of those. I think our seedlings went in too late, and it just got too hot for that little spell, and then maybe too wet. But I know they don't like the sun, the beating sun, so we should have had them in earlier. But I've also got my dahlias here that are just starting to bloom. You can see a red one in there. It's just starting to open up. So that'll be pretty once they're all open. Here, this is where we had the little pheasant enclosure. So of course I had to fence it off, and I planted it in sunflowers. So these sunflowers right here, these are all volunteer. That variety I think is just beautiful. I can't remember what they're called. I did plant some here last year, so a lot of the seeds are just volunteer. I'll have to check in my book and see what the variety is. So this is our little miniature orchard here. We have over there's 2 pear trees. I just got those for my birthday, and 3 apple trees. Those are Empire apples. We have an Italian plum tree, and this is the first year it has produced plums. They keep falling off though. I need another one, but this is the first year it actually produced, which is exciting. Another one here is called the Fireside apple tree. My brother got me that. And over here we have a sour cherry tree. And here are our beehives. Got a little bee yard back here. We have 9 altogether. There's another one up beyond that apple tree. And they're always busy. And here's their little water. Bees like a lot of water. And just put some stones in there for them. You can see a bee drinking away. And then my comfrey, I've already cut that down. It's coming back with a vengeance. And back here, I really need to take the grass trimmer back here, but you can see the flowers. There's lots of zinnias, and there are cosmos and sunflowers and bachelor's buttons. And I think that's it. Oh, I think I put some poppies back here too, so they should look really pretty. They were last year. They're beautiful. Next, we have my herb garden. It's kind of crazy. It's all over the place, but and everything has to be fenced because of the chickens too, because they're such brats. But this row here, I've got some Russian chamomile and lemon balm. The whole row is lemon balm there. Then I have rosemary, and you'll see volunteer dill plants everywhere. I just left them. So this row is rosemary, and then there's some marjoram at the back. It didn't do so well this year. Maybe too much water. Then we also have oregano, and then there's some more there. My thyme, clary sage, and there's a few of those kind of just volunteering everywhere. Then the other sage, I don't know what the variety is, but it's just kind of like a regular sage there. And I've cut that back, and my thyme and the oregano, because it was just going crazy. Then we have some German chamomile, rhubarb, which is obviously done, and some red currant bushes here. And these were loaded. You can still see there are some there. But then we have dill and cilantro. I had to replant this section here twice. Volunteer dill plants with some summer savory and garlic chives and some tarragon there. The zinnias that I originally planted did not come up, so I just came in here and just tossed a bunch of seeds, and they've obviously come up, but they're not as far as they usually would be. Like usually they'd be almost ready to bloom by now, but we'll just have some later flowers, which is nice for the bees. The lavender was absolutely lovely this year, but it has gone to seed, and that is what I'm doing, is I save the seed from it. I also have some grapes, and we actually do have grapes this year. So here's some grapes here, which will be nice to have some at least. I want to show you my little washing station here. It's my washing station for vegetables. James made this for me a few years back. It is so handy. I've got the hose there, and I do have a little board. It's in the house right now. It's just a little board which acts as a cutting board here. But this removable frame, it's got screen on it for things like green beans and lettuce, things that will slip through the bigger wire. And I use the bigger one for beets and potatoes and carrots and things like that. But it's really, really handy, so I don't have to get lots of dirt down the drain. So I like to use that. So this is the view just from the edge of the property. We're on 2 acres here, but we're surrounded by farm fields, which is really nice. So that's the back. And these maple trees along here and across the front, we tap those in the spring and we make our own maple syrup. Down over there you can see that water thing on top of our place where we boil our maple syrup. It's just kind of like a wildflower garden. The hummingbirds and the bees love it. I've got calendula in here, and we've got some blanket flower and some betony that's just starting to go to seed there. Got some white phlox, and these volunteer sunflowers, I've just left them. And then here's a snapdragon. It's a beautiful color. So we grew the snapdragons from seed. And then we've got some wild harebell in there that's just volunteer. And more blanket flower that will come out. Calendula, and my snapdragons are just starting to come out there with some more foxglove at the back. So this is just kind of like a wild garden here for, like I said, the hummingbirds and the bees. At the south side of the house we have some roses here. We have 2 varieties, and they are both shrub roses, and I wanted kind of like a hedge of color here. They flower all season long. I've cut them back so they don't look as vibrant as they were, but they were just absolutely loaded with flowers. They were so pretty. And this one here, and if you can believe it, we just planted these last year and they have just taken off. And I also have some lavender dotted in amongst them too. But this variety here, you can see they're starting to, there's lots of blooms coming, and this is what they look like. And this one here is also a shrub. It's a Brindabella Purple Prince, and they have the most beautiful roses on them, and they smell so pretty. Here's one. They're so lovely, and I collect the rose petals from them. And like I said, the smell is just beautiful. So there's lots of buds coming on these ones. Eventually I'd like to put boxwood and have this bordered with a boxwood hedge too. I think that would look really pretty, especially with the lavender that I've dotted in amongst it. There's some there. The roses are at the south side of our house, and I am just in the front here now, and I'm going to show you what we've got out front. Here we have another perennial bed. This is kind of wild, and I let some things just volunteer as well. So we've got some black-eyed Susans and some helianthus, and lupin. That was really pretty this year. And some volunteer calendula again. And I have dotted some marigolds around here. Some of them got dug up, but some of them have survived. And of course we've got this really pretty hollyhock. That's one plant, if you can believe it. It's just lovely. We've got some obedient plant here and more foxglove and more hollyhocks. And we also have along the back, can't see them because they've gone to seed, but I also have delphinium there as well. It's a really, really pretty dark purple. So this is kind of our another perennial bed that's kind of gone crazy. In the front beds, we just have some perennials here, and we grew those geraniums from seed this year. And here I plant, I save seed from the marigolds, and I border the gardens with those. It saves tons of money. I used to put impatiens, and it was expensive. So anyway, now I just saved the seed. It looked beautiful last year. I'll post a picture so you can see that. And we just have some perennials and some shrubs here. And here we started these geraniums here and those ones from seed, and I had just a few petunias and impatiens left over from the back pots that I did. So I just kind of tossed those into terracotta pot and threw those purple petunias in with the geraniums. This is another perennial bed. This is one that is usually kind of ugly. It's very, very dry. The soil's terrible here. And this is the garden where I did the video for the dividing the grape hyacinths. And I have divided them so that they're rimming the entire garden all the way around. So in the spring, that should be beautiful. And I'll leave the link above too for that video. On this side, we also have some more chamomile and evening primrose. We have some more obedient plant right there that's just about to bloom, and black-eyed Susans, some blanket flower, and these dianthus, I've cut those back. There's a few blooms that are coming, but we have some chrysanthemum that will be blooming soon. And I like this bee balm. It's purple. The ones around the house are red, but this is a nice purple color, so it should be nice when they're all out. So I just got this tour done just in time. The rain's coming down a little bit heavier. It was just spitting before, and I'm gonna run up and pull the clothes off the line before they have a second rinse. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's garden tour, and please watch out for the videos that I'll be uploading about all the problems that we had with our garden and the things that we did to try to remedy them. And some things worked, and some things there's nothing you can do. So thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you again next time.